Hello and welcome to College Sports Conversations presented by the NCAA. I'm Cameron Shue. Now, the life of a college athlete is a busy one, practicing games, school, social activities, etc. But for those few who are fortunate enough to be able to play the game they love at the next level, the opportunities it provides are enormous. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with someone who not only is currently taking this path, but also is using it to take advantage of as many of those opportunities as he can while in college. Jahiem Peake is a football player and sports leadership major at John Carroll University, a Division III school in Ohio. And what a football player he is. This past season alone, Jahiem led the Blue Streaks in sacks, was named All-Ohio Athletic Conference Defensive First Team, and D3Football.com All-Region Second Team. But what's even more impressive is what Jahiem does off the field. He's the co-president of the John Carroll University Student Athlete Advisory Committee, was selected for the 2023 NCAA Division III Student Immersion Program. We'll get into that in a bit. Was selected to attend the 2023 NCAA Career in Sports Forum. Again, get into that in a bit. And is currently the team's operations intern at the United States Football League. Jahiem, welcome.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, so Jahiem, obviously to kick this off, I want to ask the question that I'm sure you get all the time. When do you sleep, man?
It changes day to day. Some days, I'm lucky and I get a full 8 hours of sleep. Some days I got to roll with 3 or 4 hours of sleep to get all of my schoolwork done. But the way I look at it is the things I do during the day, I'm having fun and we can figure everything else out.
I love it. I love it. That's the perfect way to prepare yourself for life, man. And like they say, when you do what you love, it never feels like work. So focusing on football to start here, what was it about John Carroll University that you knew was the place for you to continue your football and academic career?
Honestly, going to my senior year in high school, I didn't know if I wanted to play college football. And our former defensive coordinator, Coach Long, he recruited me and wouldn't stop calling me. And I was like, you know what? These guys are really trying. And I like the school. Is kind of one of the very few schools that was recruiting me hard. And I was like, you know what? Let's do it and figure it out as we go.
Awesome. Now, having been a D3 athlete myself, selfish plug here, I can attest to the opportunities it can provide beyond the playing field, all the different things that it allows you in addition to focusing on your sport and your academics. But man, just those opportunities are endless. And one of those is the Division III Student Immersion Program, where the Division III governance group selects a handful of student athletes across the country to attend the annual NCAA Convention and learn how the association operates. So for you, what did being selected for the Student Immersion Program mean to you?
I thought it was really cool. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into at first. Our SID at John Carroll, Joe Ginley, he called me one day in like November and was like, hey, what are you doing mid-January? And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, there's this interesting opportunity for you to apply and possibly go to the NCAA annual convention, kind of see what happens on the back end. And I was like, cool, okay. And I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. And then I got there and I was like, oh, these are 40 student athletes from Division III out of hundreds and hundreds that we selected to come. And my mind for the 4 days I was there in San Antonio, Texas was absolutely blown of everything that goes in the back end. I think the coolest thing while being there was the annual rule meeting and voting on the last day. And I thought that was really cool to be a part of, and all the cool people I met that do different jobs throughout intercollegiate athletics.
That's crazy, isn't it? Like all schools together, one school, one vote, and see them all in one room voting on the rules as it goes.
It was such an interesting experience.
I love it. I love it. Now, in addition to what you thought was cool about it, what would you say you learned from your time at convention?
I learned a lot of things at convention. Really something that they harped on is when you're networking, when you're introducing yourself to people, is following up. That's probably really what I learned the most. But what I really took away was the small group, the 40 kids from the immersion program. Over the 4 days, we became best friends and none of us wanted to leave. And it was really cool to be around a bunch of like-minded student athletes that want to do the same thing as you, that's driven just like you. And then on the last day when we were told it's possible for us to go to Careers in Sports Forum too, the excitement from all of us that we all be able to get together again and being able to get together at the Careers in Sports Forum is really cool. I know I've kind of built a mini network of people throughout the entire country just from this one experience.
Oh man, that's great. I love hearing that. And before we get too far away from you mentioning it, SIDs, yours at John Carroll, Joe Ginley, like, man, the tireless work they do, instrumental for not only the promotion of the university, but allowing current student athletes like yourself to get out there and find these opportunities to really grow your field and do all that. So obviously Joe's putting in the work for you. That's great.
Yeah, shout out to all of the SIDs.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Their work doesn't go unnoticed.
Love it. Love it. And now fast forward 4 months, and you just mentioned it, and you again are selected, this time to take part in the Career in Sports Forum, a 4-day program developed by the NCAA Leadership Development Group. So can you talk a little bit about that experience and what you took away from that?
I told Joe this, our SID is like, I went to the immersion program. It was cool, get to see the back end of it. And I was like, oh, Careers in Sports Forum, it's just going to be a networking opportunity, meet people in the industry and stuff like that. And it was so much more than that. And it blew my mind. Shout out to the NCAA leadership development team, like amazing experience. And being there, it was so much more than learning about who does what in sports and what their job title is and how they got there. But really they focused on learning about yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses. And that's really what I took away from there. And then kind of like I said with the immersion program, you meet, unlike the immersion program was 40 student athletes, it was 200 student athletes from all over the country in that room, and you grew close with them. It was like, I was telling Joe, there were some cool kids there that's doing some really amazing things, and kind of was like another opportunity to kind of build your little mini network from across the country. And it was by far the best 4 days I've had in college athletics.
That's awesome. And obviously it's still being fresh on your mind because it happened recently. What you said, you learned some things about yourself. What do you see yourself applying to this upcoming year, your last year on campus?
We really focused on leadership, how to be a leader, different ways to communicate, things you're good at and things you're bad at. And something I took away from it was, you play a sport, you play a team sport like football. Leadership is something that's kind of ingrained with you. Being a communication is ingrained with you. But I really want to focus on the things I thought I was bad at. Expression things, being an effective and clear communicator. That's really what I want to take away for the next year or so. My final year at college athletics is kind of honing in on my weaknesses and kind of building those so I can use those to my benefit. And kind of a part that we always talked about there is like, if you know your weaknesses, kind of where to stray away from and how not to put yourself in bad position, but at the same time work on them. So if you do get caught in that position, you can kind of figure it out.
That's awesome, man. Appreciate that. And as you touched on, those are some of the goals you kind of have coming up for your senior year here at John Carroll. But what do you see yourself hoping to do once you get out of college? I know, like we talked about at the beginning, currently you're interning with the USFL. What do you see yourself hopefully being able to do down the road?
Coming up in December, I got a really hard decision. I have extra year eligibility. Do I take that extra year eligibility? Do I stay and get my MBA? Do I look for full-time employment? So the end goal is to become the NFL commissioner. I've always loved football. I've always loved the business side of football. That's the end goal. I would say the next steps, it could be a number of them. I'm not exactly sure, but I know one day I want to work in a National Football League office.
I love it. I love it. And so obviously that's long-term. That's great. And you bring up an excellent point about being a student during the pandemic and the COVID era, as I'll call it. You get that choice to maybe have another year or not if you want. Looking into this year specifically, what are some of your goals you have on the football field?
The first goal I have is to be a great teammate and be a great leader. We recently at John Carroll, we came off a coaching switch. We have basically a whole new staff, new head coach, new offense coordinator, new defensive coordinator. And we went through spring ball. Things got better. You know, you get used to their systems, but continuing to push the guys to buy into what the coaches are preaching and their ways and their tendencies. But with that being said, you also have your individual goals, and a few of those is I want to be first team all OAC again. Last year I was beat out for most outstanding linebacker. I look to win that award. I want to be another all-region player, and I want to be another All-American again. And I want my name to be in the hat for best defensive player in Division III.
I love it, man. You set those goals and go get them, man. That's fantastic to hear. Kind of piggybacking off that, what advice would you have for current, like maybe freshman or sophomore or incoming student athletes to get the most out of their college experience, both on the field, court, or off?
Try it. I often see with the younger guys on the teams, like, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if it's going to be too much of a time commitment, or, you know, you kind of talk yourself out of it. I can't remember which speaker it was, but at the Careers in Sports Forum, one of our keynote speakers said something, and it really resonated with me, is quit talking stuff about yourself and believe in yourself. And the reason that resonated with me is because you often see, like, you want to try something new or you want to do something new, and you talk about, like, I don't know if I can do it or stuff like that. Try it. I've been one to, you ask me if I want to try something, I'm gonna say yes before I even think about it, and I might regret it after the fact. It might be too much, or I might hate it, but at least I tried it. And that's kind of what got me here. I've done things in my past and in my few years through college that I was like, I don't know if I'll do it again, but at the same time, I don't regret doing it, is because I learned something from it.
Man, those are phenomenal words. I mean, one, don't know if you don't try, and two, you don't know if you can get better without experiencing those bumps, those failures, and just knowing the better way to go about it next time around. I love hearing that from you, man. Well, I mean, Jahiem, honestly, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to talk to me today and share your experience. This was enjoyable for me, and I hope it was the same for you, my man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And that does it for this edition of College Sports Conversations presented by the NCAA. Again, I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did, and look forward to talking to you again soon.